Hey guys, it's Alika from Between Black and White. I stumbled across this article about the Duggars, who, if you're not familiar with them, you may have been sleeping under a rock, considering they're all over everywhere, with their 20 kids now? 19. I think it's 19 or 20. I don't remember. There's a lot. And I stumbled off this article when I was skimming different tags on Ladies Against Feminism, which is going to be one of my big things I'm going to be discussing, talking about, whatever, is Ladies Against Feminism. But this was there under myths, and it was talking about Jill Stanek, who, if you're not familiar with her, she is a very pro-life registered nurse, turned speaker. She travels all around. She's very active in the pro-life movement. But she wrote this article in August of last year, and it's called Duggar Kids Free Indeed. So, she wrote this, but she copied a post from Charlie Richards, who created Life at the Pond, which is a Christian video series. So, there we go. Now that we've appropriately attributed this to, who wrote this, let's jump right in, partway through this article. It says, "My wife and I spent considerable time talking to 3 teenage girls, Jill, Jessa, and Ginger. They're sharp, fun, and informed. They know what's going on out there, but it isn't at all part of their everyday life, and to the shock and dismay of so many, they're okay with that. While, admittedly, I admire these Duggars for much of what they do, I didn't expect what I saw in these 3 girls. The world has yet to beat them into submission." So we're starting off by assuming that the world is out there to beat you into submission. Well, alright, let's keep going. "They don't watch the Disney Channel, so they've yet to learn that adults are buffoons and parents are embarrassing." I don't watch the Disney Channel. However, I can almost guarantee you that this wide sweeping generalization that parents and adults are buffoons and embarrassing in the real world out there, outside of the safety of their family, is absolutely absurd. I mean, first of all, what gives you the right to think that because you see something in a TV show, that means it translates into the rest of life? And second of all, the Disney Channel just... we're not even going to go there, because the Disney Channel, really? And yet, who's saying adults are buffoons and parents are embarrassing? Are you implying that the Disney Channel portrays them that way so they would think that if they watch the Disney Channel, thereby implying they or they're incapable of independent thought? Or are you saying that adults and parents are buffoons and embarrassing, unless they're conservative Christian fundamentalists like you? What are you trying to say in this? That I don't know. So then it goes on to say, "They don't listen to the local rock station, so they've yet to discover life is supposed to be one promiscuous event followed by another." Is this because Katy Perry sings about kissing a girl? Living in real life, at least I thought I was living in real life, and going to work every day, having a job and stuff, I'm not getting a whole lot of the sense of I need to have one promiscuous event followed by another, because otherwise apparently I'm not living life to the fullest, so I better get moving on with that promiscuity. But I mean, if you listen to some of these songs on the rock station, they're not always about being promiscuous. Let's go with the cliche, "Born This Way" by Lady Gaga. You know, she's not saying go out and be promiscuous with the song. She's saying love yourself for who you are. And You're implying, and again with the implication that this is what life is like for everyone who's not special, like the Duggars, and focusing on God or whatever subliminal message you're trying to send out here. They don't attend public school, so they've yet to learn teenage girls are required to be filled with angst and riddled with insecurities. Filled with angst and riddled with insecurities. That's what you are required to be as a teenage girl. Unless you're Stephanie Myers, I'm pretty sure the vast majority of the population wouldn't actually agree with that statement. I'm, like I said, I mean, there's not a lot I feel like I can really say about that, because teenage girls are required to be filled with angst and riddled with insecurities. There you go, boys and girls. If you aren't filled with angst and riddled with insecurities, you're doing it wrong. At least in our world. Unless, of course, you're a good little Christian, in which case, go right ahead, you know? Or do they think that if you're not Christian, you're going to be filled with insecurities? I mean, that could be what's going on, too. I'm just not entirely sure. So then they go on to say, as we spoke to the three of them, one word kept jumping out at me: freedom. These girls were experiencing freedom teenagers rarely taste. Completely free to be themselves. The exact opposite of the words so often used by media folk to describe the 19 kids. Well, I'm going to have to jump on the media bandwagon here for a minute, because this is a little preposterous. I guess this is the problem. You're sitting here asserting that they are experiencing freedom teenagers rarely taste, that they're completely free to be themselves, and other teenagers aren't. I mean, okay, talk to any teenager you meet. You know, pick a random handful, and I can pretty much guess that they're gonna say one of two things. One, they are free to be themselves, or my parents don't let me do this, no matter how liberal their parents are. Because as a teenager, you know, you're gonna sit there and you're gonna feel like, I should be getting to do this, I should be getting to do that, but my parents don't care. It's part of life. That's what, I mean, I was like that as a teenager, and yet I was raised in a conservative Christian family, and I should have been completely free to be myself. Which brings us to the next problem. They say they're completely free to be themselves. What happens if this is only completely free to be themselves insofar as what they say lines up with what their parents think. Let's ask you this. Let's say one of these girls decided what if she realized, you know, she wasn't straight, she was a lesbian. And that's who she is. Are her parents going to sit there and say, oh, this is great, we support you, we want you to be completely free to be yourself and embrace your sexuality like that? They're not going to say that. Are we going to sit here and guess and say something like, say they wanted to wear pants, wanted to cut their hair, want to go to college, want to have a degree. What if they want to go and do something that doesn't necessarily line up with what their parents think? Does that mean that their parents are going to say, okay, you can go on with this, we're going to support you because we want you to be free to be yourself? Or are they going to say, you clearly don't know yourself, you're thinking wrong, we need to save you? And the reason I'm asking this is because that's what I got from my parents. Oh wait, you actually do like this guy? We don't think he's right for you. We're not supportive of this, and we feel that decisions you've made have led you down this path that's not okay, and so we need to bring you back to safety, in a nutshell. Now, if you can honestly tell me, Mr. and Mrs. Duggar, that you would support your children no matter what they wanted to do, what they thought, or what they believed, then I will accept that they are completely free to be themselves. Otherwise, if you're going to sit here and tell me that you wouldn't approve of a child who is anything other than straight, or you wouldn't approve of a child who wanted to get an abortion, or you wouldn't approve of a child who, voted for Hillary Clinton. Seriously. If you're not going to support a child, if your child ends up deciding they're not Christian anymore and they're atheists, are you still going to support them and let them be completely free to be themselves or not? Because you can't talk about freedom until you're willing to face up to what it means. So you know what? There are people out there who genuinely want a fundamentalist lifestyle. I don't agree with it, but I can't force them not to, because that's not letting them be free to make their own choices. What it all boils down to is this. I have problems with people who are doing something because they are browbeat into doing it, guilt-tripped, feel like they have to. If they're honestly choosing it because they, as an individual, think it's what's best for them, and not because they think it's what other people want to see, that's one thing. And you can go right ahead. But knowing what I know about my experience, I can just outright tell you, that's not the case with the majority of people. If I had truly started embracing independent thought from an early age, I would have been looked down upon and most probably even punished for my thoughts because they were sinful and wrong, and a good Christian child of God who wants to be a helpmate to her father and her husband would not think those things. In a nutshell, it's all boiling down to, what does freedom mean? And 9 times out of 10, in fundamentalist Christianity, freedom means you have the ability to do whatsoever you want as long as it lines up with what we believe is right. And the we in that sentence is the patriarchs of the society, the dads, the husbands, and the leaders in the church. If you don't match up with them, you're wrong. It's not freedom anymore, because you'll need to be corrected and brought back so you can be free to be yourself within the guidelines they've set forth. So now that we've wrapped up our neat little box, the better fit in it, and if you're the wrong shape or size, you gotta cut yourself down until you fit. And that's not what I consider freedom. But maybe it's what they do.